Welcome back to the Upper Tier Podcast, the football podcast we bring you each and every day on the Dynamo Podcast Network. Head over to YouTube, smash that subscribe and bell notification button. Audio versions of the show are available on Anchor. And if you'd like to contact the show, you'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, the Upper Tier. Joining me as always for our weekly transfer show, a kind of like a little Sunday sit-in, really Sunday morning sit-in on a glorious day. For this transfer show, my partner on the show, Dean Fitz. How you doing, Dean?
Sun's out, guns out.
Awesome. Before we get into this, there's something I want to touch on. Breaking news there this morning. We spoke about this all year practically. A young man has taken his life again due to racial abuse. A young man called Sid Vizin, who was a part of the youth side in AC Milan and also a part of Benevento. 20 years of age, suffered racial abuse, constantly suffering it, wrote a letter, took his life. I'd like to read some words from his letter to make the point across that these vile, horrible people who I can't even describe as human beings. He says in his letter, "Everywhere I go, I feel the weight of people skeptical, disgusted, and scared looks at me. I'm not an immigrant. Remember, everyone loved me," Vizin wrote. "I had managed to find a job that I had to leave because too many people, especially older people, refused to be served by me, as if I wasn't already uncomfortable. They blame me because many Italian white people couldn't find jobs. Something has changed inside me, like I'm ashamed of being black." So I hope our viewers and our listeners and think about those words that this young man felt he had to write in this letter before he sadly took his life. So R.I.P. Sid Vizin. Again, another one lost to these vile, horrible people. Now,
Who gives these fucking animals the right to judge someone because of the color of their skin? You know, just God bless the young man. Do you know what I mean? God bless his family.
yeah. So thoughts, prayers, and condolences to his family who now have to live with the scar that society creates, and it's so sad.
I said this 3 or 4 weeks ago on the matchup when they done that blackout regarding the racial abuse online and stuff like that. And I said it's never going to stop. You know what does it take? Like, what does it take to make this stop? Because it's never going to stop. You know, it's never ever going to stop. You look at the abuse Marcus Rashford suffered after the Europa League Cup final. From their own fans. But do you know what? Do you know what really boils me blood, Niall? It's the following week if they score a goal that they're fucking hero again. Just Facebook, Twitter, all these platforms, they're all making fucking copious amounts of money, you know. But they're afraid to put out this thing that if you set up an account now, you have to put a passport. You have to. People go sad, miserable, lonely, pathetic people go out of their way to set up fake profiles to share a few comments with someone about their skin color, and then they delete the profile, you know, as if to say, like, stick my chest out. And I bet you these are the same lonely, sad, pathetic people that are claiming the social benefits, you know. They don't have nothing to do with their life, just sad, miserable, pathetic people. But yet they go up in front of the courts and get a slap on the wrist and a fine. Lock these bastards up. Give them a year in prison. You know, make that a thing that if you're caught doing this, you get locked up. Because that's why people are doing it. You look at the young lad that racially abused Ian Wright. I'll cut this short. You look at the young lad that racially abused Ian Wright, you know, a slap on the wrist, a fine, because they didn't want to give him a criminal record at such a young fucking age. If you're man enough to call certain people these names, then you're man enough to take a criminal record. And so what if it ruins your life? You know what I mean? Look at this young lad who left that note. You know what I mean? This morning, his life is ruined. He's fucking dead now because people just decided, oh, we don't like the color of his skin, so let's just target him. You know,
and his family's life.
Exactly, they have to live with this forever. But if these people are just going to slap on the wrist and a fine, well, this person has took his life. It's not right. You know what I mean? Something seriously needs to be done about this, and I'll leave it at that because I get very, very upset about it.
Absolutely. So rest in peace, Sid Vizin. Let's move on to the transfer show, 6th of June. I don't know. We look at it. Is this? We need to talk about players, but we also need to talk about managers. This week has been an absolute madness.
Manager merry-go-round.
I suppose we need to start off with everyone probably just needs to laugh at Arsenal, don't they? When you think about it,
On the whole broadened spectrum, let's laugh at Arsenal.
Here's Arsenal, the big club who present themselves as being, you know, a top four, top five, whatever you want to call it, go out to sign Emi Buendia, lodge a bid of 30 million that they knew wasn't acceptable. They've been chasing this guy now for God knows how long. This is like Sancho Part 2 for United. And Villa comes in, offers what the club wants, and goes and potentially signs the guy. And he rejects Arsenal for Villa because he feels like that Arsenal are just taking the piss.
Basically, yeah.
You know, and I'm listening to a report there this morning by some Villa fans, and they hit the nail on the head where they said, don't call yourself a big club unless you're going to act like a big club. And by doing this, you don't act like a big club. So hats off to Villa this morning and the Villa fans. I hope you get your man. It looks like you're going to get him anyway. It looks like it's agreed at this stage. And Arsenal, please take note. If you want to be regarded as a big club, act like a big club.
It'll be a long, long time before Arsenal are regarded as a big club again. Top to bottom, they're going in the direction of Spurs, trying to get the cheaper deals. The whole selling of the club, going out and trying to get the three boys from the Invincibles as part of the agenda, thinking that that's going to sway Stan Kroenke. I think the only way Stan Kroenke leaves Arsenal is if he dies, and I'm just using that as an example because he's a stubborn businessman. He ain't going anywhere anytime soon. But down to the manager's position, you know, they thought they'd bring him in after looking at Pep for a few years and think that he's going to come in and they'll be the next Arsenal. You know, Arsenal have been on the decline for a long, long time, and I've not taken Arsenal serious since the whole 40 plus 1 million for Luis Suarez, and it's just been a slide ever since. You know, they're getting like Everton now. It's if we finish above Spurs, it's a good season.
Yeah, it's kind of weird as well because Buendia is an outstanding player and at 30 odd million. Now we're only talking 3 million in the difference here. Villa's bid has been accepted for 33 million. Arsenal bid at 30 million. And I'm thinking, even at 33 million, this lad is a snip.
Yeah, I read that something about it's the potential to go up to 40 million with bonus or with add-ons and stuff like that. But Villa are on the rise, and we're reading this week as well that Grealish wants to stay. You know, Tammy Abraham, we'll touch on that later, might be coming in. Like we've seen in fits and starts that Villa, you know, they can put it up to anybody. They're a very, very good side. Let's forget about the 7-2 against Liverpool, but can only see good teams. You know what I mean? You can see them kind of. I know Wolves had a dip this year, but you can see them kind of going in the direction of Wolves, where top 10, top 8. You know, and like build on. But yeah, very, very good signing. We were linked with him last year, I think. Didn't materialise. Very, very good player. Very exciting player. Has an eye for goal. He's very good bringing the strikers into play and all. So, you know, all things other than Liverpool, next season is going to be a very, very exciting season. Some very, very good players already in the league, and there's some very, very good players coming into the league.
Yeah, absolutely. Chelsea this week came out and they're expected to sort out the contract extensions for Thomas Tuchel, obviously first and foremost, which I think has definitely earned it without a shadow of a doubt. It's done. But also they're just looking to tie down Thiago again for give him another year, I think it is, or a year extension, and also N'Golo Kante. I think both of these are a given, aren't they? I mean, Thiago says he's come out, he wants to stay, he's just waiting to sign on the dotted line. Kante, I'd imagine, will stay. But again, you always have that kind of idea of the Euros and what's going to transpire in the Euros, but I don't think he's going to go anywhere. I think Chelsea for him is probably the place to be. There wouldn't be that many other options in terms of giving him a better situation.
Wouldn't be many other options considering the money that would have to be paid to buy him as well, because if he goes out and wins the Euros with France, you're talking at least 150 million. And that's not even like being a bit OTT. He's the best midfielder in the world at the moment. He's absolutely class.
Yeah, we've already said he probably has one hand on the Ballon d'Or at this stage. So if he has a big Euros, I mean, the world is ice.
You look at the year that Modric won it, you know, when Messi and Ronaldo had good season as well. Like, I feel bad that Lewandowski didn't get it last year because he was the best player by far last year and was cancelled, which I don't understand because I'm sure they can generate votes electronically and he still could have given them the award. I had a discussion with a couple of football fans on a couple of other platforms that I'm on, and I was saying that Lewandowski for breaking the German record. I know it's a year later and all, but I do think he deserves the Ballon d'Or for the season last year. But touching on Kante, he has to get it this year. And if he goes out and wins the Euros and he doesn't get the Ballon d'Or, you'll be asking them questions again about what's going on with this voting system, because it always seems to be a case of you have to keep the golden boys in the picture, Messi and Ronaldo. When the standard of football across Europe has dropped dramatically, there has been a few standout players in that position or in certain teams that haven't been performing well. There's been players that have stood out across this season. But for me, probably yourself, and I'd say a lot of people, especially our friend Ian, Kante has to get it. Just another thing, just touching on the contract situations at Chelsea, I believe Giroud was signing a contract extension as well, which I'm very, very surprised at. I thought this would have been his last season and he'd go out on a high with winning the Champions League. But we can see the bigger picture there. We'll touch on Tammy Abraham later on. But for me, Giroud over Tammy Abraham every day of the week. For me, Giroud over Werner every day of the week. He's so underrated. I'm sick of saying it. So that's a very, very good move for Chelsea as well. Like, if things aren't going well and you need that plan B, Giroud is your go-to guy.
Yeah, I wonder, is the Giroud move because of the talk that Lukaku has come out and said he wants to stay at Inter Milan?
They need that big target man, don't they?
Yeah, so they need that option on the bench always to come on and change up a game, you know.
Plus as well, Giroud was going to do a job for you, and the money you're going to spend on Lukaku was, you know, that's the worry with the likes of Chelsea. If they're not signing Lukaku and they have that money to spare and they're looking at Giroud for me can do the exact same job as Lukaku. You like, there's talk of Varane is only going to be 45, 50 million max. The money's just going to get pumped into other positions, and Chelsea are only going to get better.
Well, I suppose the difference there is Olivier Giroud on the bench gives you an option, but on the bench, I'd imagine if Lukaku was coming in from Inter Milan, he'd want to be in the starting 11.
Yeah, 100%.
He wouldn't be sitting on the bench after the season he's had at Inter Milan. Let's get on to Jadon Sancho. We seem to talk about Jadon Sancho every week. Reports coming out from United this week stating that, you know, they had lodged a bid. It was like they were trying to trash out the bid. It was like 70 million plus 20 million of add-ons. Add-ons of various sort of parameters and stuff like that, winning the Champions League, being World Player of the Year, all these different things that they attach to it. But Christian Falk has come out and said that no bid is being lodged and that no negotiations have started between both clubs, which is kind of contrary to what's being said this week. And especially the fact that it looked as if United were the only one in the race for Sancho, that no one else was going in for him. So they had a free rein to go in there and get the job done. And coupled with the fact that Dortmund agreed with the player last year to give them one more year and then they'd happily move on if the right deal was presented, which is, on the face of it now, is nearly 40, 50 million less than what it was last year. But then we had Fabrizio Romano coming out discussing that Liverpool are still interested in the player. And I was thinking to myself, are we going to get Fabinho part 2? And I'm just wondering, you know, where is this whole thing going? Contrary reports, bids being launched, not being launched, clubs talking together, not talking together. And like, we had died down. I mean, you haven't heard anything in relation to Liverpool with Jadon Sancho. But having said that, normally when we announce a player, it's when we haven't been speaking about him anyway.
Yeah, we're quite secretive on that side of things, you know. But how nice would it be? I've kind of given up on my pipe dream of Kylian Mbappe, but how nice would it be now that Sancho is training in England at the moment as part of the Euro squad, and a nice bit of breaking news this week. It's kind of 50-50. Like if he stays at Dortmund, you're not going to be surprised. But I just have a feeling United are going to mess around. United need to just come out and say, look, the money, there's the money. Let's get the contract sorted. The longer United wait around, this is what pisses United fans off. The longer they leave it and sitting around and haggling over 5 or 10 million, the player is good enough. Just go out and spend the fucking money.
Isn't it mad to think? Just imagine a situation where that happened. You already have this tidal wave of hate for the Glazers and wanting them out. Can you imagine if Liverpool were to sneak in there at the last minute and steal Jadon Sancho away from them? I mean, they'd show up and wreck the stadium at this stage. You know what I mean? It's just, it's unthinkable. And we laugh about it, but these are the things that happen, But I'd expect United to sign him because it doesn't look like there's a lot more in there for him. And United obviously want the player and he wants a move. He's good friends with Marcus Rashford and some of the boys there at Man United. So it would make sense that that's where he would go. But again, when you're messing around with these negotiations, this money and trying to pull back 20 million and negotiate these crazy clauses and all that kind of stuff that really aren't always achievable. So really you're washing that 20 million away and you're saying, well, we're really only going to get 70 million for him. When last year you were looking at 120 million. So it remains to be seen, but we'll keep a close eye on it. But interesting the way the conflicting reports are coming out about where clubs are at with the Jadon Sancho deal. Liverpool reporting in the Echo this week. Liverpool, some of their priorities at the moment are to obviously renew the contracts, Alisson Becker and Fabinho. These are a given, really, aren't they? It's just get in there, lads, sort out the contract, sign on the dotted line, give them what they need to be given and what they're worth, and let's move on. Let's not be messing around with that kind of stuff, and let's be focusing on all the other stuff. What you thinking on it?
Yeah, as you said, they're a given. I can't see them boys going anywhere anytime soon. The talk of Van Dijk as well. There's going to be an offer put to him as well, and this summer is the priority to work on Mo Salah's new contract. For me, that's the spine in the team. Your goalkeeper, your best centre half, your best midfielder, and don't need to tell people that Mo Salah is Mo Salah. But those four are the spine from the back to the front of that team. If you lose any one of those players or you start coming into the territory of going into the last year or so of their contract and you've all that doubt and the negativity that surrounds it, and you have fans getting filled full of bullshit stories, and the majority of fans believe in the bullshit stories, it's only going to cause difficulty throughout the season. You know what I mean? We had it with Coutinho, we had it with Suarez. Those are a given. Every Liverpool is going to be happy when we get the news that those contracts are signed. But just when we get Mo Salah's contract signed, we'll be happy.
Yeah, I think that'll happen as well. I don't see it being a problem. It's just, they just have to recognise the value of these players now on the team and, put it on paper and get it signed up, really. Manchester United, who were heavily linked with Varane, seem to have now switched and are looking at the Atalanta defender, Christian Romero. Strange kind of switch there, but I know Varane came out. There's a lot of talk linking Varane at the moment with PSG. So I'm not too sure. Haven't looked much at the Atalanta defender. But looking at Atalanta this year, they give away a lot of goals, but they also score a lot of goals. So I'm not sure whether Atalanta will be the place to be going to for a defender. I'm not too sure.
Find it very strange. I think the stemming of United fans is problems with FSG is. Not FSG with the Glazers, not necessarily just the Glazers, but like you're talking about who's going to come in and take over from Woodward and stuff like that. But United seem to jump ship with targets, you know what I mean? Whereas Liverpool, they have one target, and if they have to wait, they get it. Man City are the same. Chelsea have obviously Lukaku said he'll move on. He's not going to move on, so obviously they're going to turn their attention to other places. But why are they not going out and really making an effort? Like the same with Sancho. They had the last summer, that the deal was on the table, there was contact made, and it didn't materialise. The fans were up in arms. Varane, that was the talk for the last couple of months. he may have said he wants to go to PSG, but at least be seen to make an offer. You know what I mean? If he's your main target, as you said, you're going from wanting to sign Varane, who's arguably in the top 5, top 6 centre backs in the game, to like a complete, not an unknown necessarily, but completely like that's like going to your third or fourth choice. There's better centre halves out there, and again, a club like Man United. There was a time when these used to come out, and everybody feared who they were going to sign. For me, if they sign Sancho's not going to be the answer to all the problems. Again, we've said it all season. They need a centre half partner for Harry Maguire. Pau Torres, 40 million. I just don't understand it. I'm just happy it's not Liverpool that are going out and they're faltering with these deals, because to me, this guy off Romero off at Atalanta has to be a fourth or fifth choice.
Yeah, I think it's the frustration that comes through in the United fan base as well. Like the way the club handles its business, it identifies a big target like a Pogba or a Jadon Sancho or whatever it is, and that's their main transfer target, which is fine. But they spend all summer or whatever it is trying to land this target, and they forget about these other 3 or 4 targets that they need to get in as well. And by the time they get that bit of business done, it's too late to do all the other business, and they fall flat again.
But they're dragging out these deals across summers where there's no major tournaments. Sancho goes and has the tournament of his life at the Euros. Other teams are going to be interested. You know what I mean? Who's to say that Man City, because we're looking at the names that are probably going to be leaving City in the summer: Raheem Sterling, Bernardo Silva, Gabriel Jesus. There's talk of Fernandinho is going. Jadon Sancho goes out and has the tournament of his life. Who's to say Man City will just come in and blow him out of the water, and he came from that club. Again, Man United are playing with fire here, especially this summer with the Euros, because once the Euro starts, you have at least 4 weeks before you can jump into the water again and start contacting agents and players, because the player's going to want to switch off his phone when he's at the Euros. He's not going to want his head turned, you know what I mean? Especially coming in, well, England probably get knocked down the group stages, but coming into the latter stages of the tournament, it's not good for players' mentality. And again, I'm just happy that it's not Liverpool that's in this situation, because it just seems like another summer of upheaval.
Yeah, plus as well, what happens is if they go in and he does have a good Euros, let's suppose England get to a semi-final or a final and he's their player, he's going up another 5-10 million every match.
At least.
You know what I mean? And that's the fear. I can never understand Man United, because the money's there. You know what I mean? It's just the penny pinching is unforgivable, really, in terms of the structure that it throws down onto the fan base. It's so frustrating for them, you know what I mean?
If United got someone like Mike Edwards in, they'd be very, very dangerous in the transfer market. They don't have somebody with that brain or transfer strategy. You look at the Thiago, fair enough, he had a bad start. He got injured. He was out for a while, and then when he did come back, he was a bit of a slow burner. But once he got his rhythm back, we got Thiago at 5 million over 5 million a year for 5 years.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the worst kept secret in football. Fabrizio Romano confirmed this week that the exit of Divock Origi is on the cards. It's been on the cards for a while now, hasn't it?
It's been on the cards for about 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just mad, you know what I mean? Read another article there yesterday, an interesting one. I wanted to get your thoughts on it. It looks like Raheem Sterling may be leaving Man City. The talk it's been there for a while now. Obviously, if you look at the last 2 to 3 months of the season, it looks like he was kind of out of favour with Pep, no doubt about it. But then the strange decision to play him in the Champions League final. But he's been linked with a return back to Liverpool. And I read it there yesterday, and I'm kind of thinking, it's what you're thinking of. It's kind of like the Coutinho conundrum, really, isn't it? As well.
I think it'd be very, very hard for him to build those bridges, won't it? The footballer, I know he was very, very stale this season, and Pep doesn't hang around. If you aren't performing, you're not playing. It's as simple as that. To be one of the best clubs in the world without winning the Champions League, have to throw that in there. Wayne, if you're watching, he didn't win. Yeah, he does. Throwing him into the Champions League final as well. under that pressure after the season he's had, you know, and Reece James kind of carrying him around with a leash. This season aside, though, look what he did last season. Look what he did in the season before when they nicked the league off us by a point. You know, he was one of their standout players. Raheem Sterling, the footballer, would have taken back. Yes, because like Sadio Mane, I don't think he's going to have another season like that next season. He didn't leave Jurgen Klopp in limbo, so there's a relationship to build there with Klopp if he did come in. It is very far-fetched. Would I be happy if he came back, and do I think he could take us up another level? Look, he's a far cry from Divock Origi and Sheridan Shaqiri coming off the bench. You know, on his day, he is outstanding. As much as we like to hate him for the way he treated Liverpool and how he pushed his way out, let's be real. Like, on his day, he's an outstanding footballer. So would I take the footballer back? 100%. But it's how the fans react. The fans absolutely despise him. I am a fan. I don't hold a grudge against him because there's more important things going on in life than me thinking about him pushing his way out of the club 4 years ago. So, but there is a strong fan base there that will be at those games week in, week out, and they will find it very, very hard to forgive, let alone forget.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't know, when you look at the starting 11 that we have in there, and if they're all performing the way we know they can, like if we get back to Sadio Mane that we had before, not the one from this season, and stuff like that, I don't know, does he even get in?
I don't think so. I don't see him. I wouldn't see him getting a run of games either, because if he's only gonna, like, look at Jota. Jota came in and he really hit the ground running. But I don't think there was any pressure on Jota because he was just coming in as cover for the three boys, you know. But when he got his chance, he took it. I only see Sterling. It depends as well on the price of the player as well. Like if it's astronomical money, you're not buying him unless he's going straight into the start 11. And I've said for the last 6 or 7 weeks that the front three are going to be a different animal next year. They probably needed a season like this season, you know, like to just think to themselves, look at the standard we were at for 2.5, 3 years. You know, we've really dropped, well, other than Mo. But Bobby's numbers as well. I was looking at Bobby's numbers. Everyone's talking about not having a great season. He scored more goals, and he was part of more goals than all the big names that are being thrown around all this season about being great players, like Foden, Greenwood, Grealish, stuff like that. I think next season Liverpool's front three are going to be a different breed, especially Sadio Mane. He's going to come out with the traps big time next year. You know, he's the only player who really came out and put his hands up and said, "I've not been doing well." He went and got the medicals to see if there was anything physical wrong with him. If Jurgen's looking to start the season with Bobby, Mo, and Sadio, I just don't see the money being spent on Raheem Sterling unless he's coming in to take one of those positions for himself. And we know Jurgen is loyal, and that's all I'll say on that. I don't see him coming in unless he's going to be going straight to that team and keeping his position.
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think the only way he comes in, I mean, he's not going to want to move from a bench to a bench. And I think the only way he comes in is if potentially one of our front three goes. And I don't see that happening this summer. Moving on then, I suppose we'll touch on Spurs. Are supposed to be in a transfer tussle with Chelsea for Borussia Mönchengladbach's midfielder Jonas Hoffmann. Now, I always love these headlines. That's why I love the transfer window so much, because Spurs are in a tussle with Chelsea, and I just
start laughing every time you start off with Spurs.
Yeah, so I'm sort of thinking, I'm sitting here and I'm Jonas Hoffmann, and I'm thinking, okay, so Spurs want me and Chelsea want me. And I'm thinking, where's the tussle in this? There's absolutely no tussle whatsoever. Do I want to play with the European champions under Thomas Tuchel, or do I want to play with the top 6 side in the Europa Conference who haven't even got a manager?
And play for Ledley King in the Europa League or the Europa Conference. You know what I mean? Look, I touch on this sometimes as well with players as well. Like, there's a lot of players nowadays would be happy to go and sit on a bench and pick up a medal. When I talk about this kind of stuff, I always resort back to Danny Ings. You know, he could have sat on a bench, got a Champions League medal, got a Premier League medal, could have got everything with Liverpool. Klopp told him he wanted to stay, but he understood if he wanted to leave. He decided that he was good enough to go and play somewhere every week, and he's proven himself when he's not injured this season. I think he should have went to the Euros, if I'm honest. This guy Hoffman, if he believes in himself that he's good enough, he'll go somewhere where he's guaranteed to play every week, i.e. Tottenham Hotspur. If he's one of these players that knows he's good enough, but he's just all about medals, he'll go to Chelsea, because where does he fit in at Chelsea other than the bench and coming off the bench or playing League Cup games, or playing let's say the fourth seed in the Champions League group? Because who's he pushing out of midfield there? Kovacic, Jorginho was being talked about leaving, but Kovacic and Kante, I don't see them being budged out at Chelsea midfield at all. Kovacic really shone under Tuchel, I think. And then you have Mason Mount is the first name on the team sheet. Havertz is going to be an absolute. He's just going to really. He's going to set. I said it in January. He's going to set the league alight next season. Werner will eventually start taking his chances. You have Giroud coming in for him. I just don't see where he goes other than the bench at Chelsea. But if they're not spending big money and he wants to just go there and play a big part and challenge on all fronts, Chelsea's your go-to team. But me, if I know I can play every week, I go to Spurs. But then again, Chelsea will offer more money, and you just have the more exciting prospect. But then again, who doesn't want to be one of the first players to play in the Europa Conference?
Certainly not him, by the sounds of things. Another player that's come up this week, Sol Niguez, who has been linked a number of times with United again. Looks like he's off to Bayern Munich. 68 million. Nice bit of business done by Bayern Munich. No messing about. We want the player. Write the check. You're on your way to us. No messing about with Bayern Munich when they do their business.
Outstanding player. Absolutely outstanding player. I read one report that he could be linked with Liverpool to replace Gini. Jesus, if we signed him, like that prospect of a midfield three picked from Thiago, Jordan Henderson, Fabinho, and Sol Niguez, you'd want to have 3 or 4 extra players to get through there. But yeah, with the players that have left Bayern Munich, it seems like the obvious choice for him, doesn't it? But what a player! He's absolutely outstanding. You've seen him against Man United. We've seen him against Liverpool. I don't watch Spanish football as much as I used to, but anytime I watch that guy, he's a standout player for Atletico Madrid. He's absolutely outstanding, and at that price as well is a snippet.
Yeah, looking at good that you brought it up, Gini Wijnaldum, and of course Liverpool first of all came out this week saying that they're not actually looking to replace Gini Wijnaldum at the moment directly, but they also looking at Gini Wijnaldum. It doesn't look like the dream of Barcelona is going to go ahead, and it looks like he may be off the PSG. Barcelona dragging their heels.
Very, very, very strange, especially on a free. There was talk of a lesser wage as well to sign there. The whole year, that whole talk was just of that Barcelona deal. We were hearing Memphis Depay is going and Koeman is staying, and I just have a feeling there's something difficult going on in the background there, because as soon as that last game for Liverpool with Palace finished, we heard all this talk that people close to him are gonna come out and talk about how it wasn't his decision and he wanted to throw FSG and Liverpool under the bus and all. I just have a feeling that there's something more difficult going on in the background there. There has to be, Niall, because that we just thought that was going to be as straightforward as possible. But the closer it got to the end of the season, I said on here, I said, why is it just not being announced? Why have Liverpool came out and said that they want him to let the fans know what's going on? It's very, very strange that this deal looks like it's not going to go through. PSG have the money to, and look, let's be real. Gini Wijnaldum in any team is only going to make that midfield better. He's a workhorse. He's very consistent.
Rarely injured.
Yeah,
Rarely
exactly.
injured.
You know what I mean?
Always available.
I'm sad to lose him. But when I heard all this shit about people wanted his advisors and his family and all want to throw Liverpool under the bus, I just say good riddance to that kind of stuff, because if there was issues in the background, Liverpool could easily have come out and said, look, this is the problem, this is what we're having. Liverpool have been loyal to him all through the season. They haven't come out and said anything. He seemed to be one that had the sly dig all the time about, oh, the club can talk about this and ask this person about what's going on. And as soon as the season finished, we had all this crap about throwing Liverpool under the bus. So there definitely has to be something going on in the background. Someone's making it difficult.
Yeah, absolutely. Everton release of 5 players this week.
I just hear that word and laugh.
I don't know where we begin. You've Ancelotti getting out of there as quick as a NASCAR driver. I've never seen a deal for a manager that happened so quick who's already in a club. But they're releasing this week Josh King, Robin Olsen, Balassi, Theo Walcott, Mohamed Besic make up the 5 that they're going to release, and it'll save them $1 million a month in wages. I'm sort of thinking, how do those 5 players make £1 million in wages a month? It's absolutely ridiculous for starters.
Fucking field stamps. You get field stamps for 4 of them anyway. Theo Walcott's the only one who seems to be actually doing something still in the game. But Josh King, that was just leave him at Bournemouth. They could be promoted at this stage. I just want to say that I really feel sorry for Everton. No, I don't. I absolutely love what's going on at Everton at the moment. Couldn't be happier. They're absolute parasites. That's the views of all Liverpool fans, just not myself solely on the upper tier transfer show. That's all Liverpool fans think they're parasites. All the videos I've seen this week, sorry, I know we try and be serious on the show, but all the videos this week I'm seeing about all the tweets and all saying that Carlo's here to stay, and then the absolute hatred he's getting because everyone got so invested in this project. The owners couldn't have been happier. They thought, well, we have a manager of Carlo Ancelotti's caliber, and as soon as Real Madrid just waved at him, he was like, I'm out. I'm going back to Madrid. Could not be happier for what's going on at Everton.
Straight onto the Mersey rail, out to Cheshire, straight down to Holyhead and across to Spain. No messing about.
Yeah, I'd say he took the ferry and all that. He got absolutely slaughtered at it.
Oh, I tell you, whatever's in the house you can keep. I don't need to pack up. You can hang on to it. It's all good.
Stop Big Sam and Roy Hodgson doing a Gerard Houllier and Roy Evans next summer at Everton, or next season at Everton.
Oh God, there was a talk of David Moyes going back, and I'm kind of thinking, why would David Moyes leave West Ham at the moment, who are absolutely outstanding with a great little project going on?
Yeah, West Ham are flying. I don't see Declan Rice leaving. The Sancho deal now, it looks like that Lingard won't be part of it. You know, looks like Lingard could stay at West Ham next year. They've got a few ball for qualifying for the Europa League. David Moyes, I said this all along, if David Moyes had been left at United to, a bit of time, Roy Keane came out and said about Ole, he needs time. When he was 18 months in the job, he's nearly 3 years in the job now, and it's not going anywhere fast. David Moyes had got time at Man United, we'd be talking about a different prospect there. But when he signed that deal, we kind of just knew it was set for destruction. It was like the Pardew 6-year deal at Newcastle. It's only one way to go, especially at a club there. Look at the way United fans are towards the Glazers and all. They turned on Moyes, and it was just a losing battle for them. But yeah, why would David Moyes leave West Ham? They're only going to get better as well. To go from literally with the skin of their teeth staying in the Premier League to the season they've had and missing out on Champions League football, it's not really a disappointing thing for them, because let's be real, they were never going to get top 4. In my opinion, they were never going to get top 4, and where they finished is probably where they deserve to finish.
Not only that, I mean, like, if you look at as you said, the season they had last year, a top 10 finish this year would have been outstanding.
Outstanding.
But they were absolutely brilliant, and like he was a huge show for manager of the year as well. I know we had him in most of our picks.
just on that, you look at the players that were brought in with Carlo Ancelotti as well at Everton. Who's to say that Moyes doesn't go in and they're just like, you're not what we want here? It happens at clubs. So what happens if he goes back to Everton and Everton have a very, very bad start to the season and players are talking about, we don't want to be here and play for him. They were setting their ways under Ancelotti. You know, what happens if he goes back to Everton, doesn't work out and he gets sacked?
Well, Carlo was a big part of Hamas going there. So and he was a big player for them this season when he was in the side. I know he got injured and he was in and out with injuries, but when he played, he brought them into a different level. In fairness to Everton, you know. Fabrizio Romano reporting this week as well that Liverpool are not in for Bissouma. I was a little bit disappointed in this because I was hoping this is one we might get across the line in terms of that Genie Wijnaldum conundrum. But yeah, a little bit disappointing. That's what was reported. But again, in Mike Edwards' fashion and way, that doesn't mean it won't happen. Let's talk about Spurs for a minute. We have to talk about this Antonio Conte situation. It's just, you know, it's happened in a very Conte way, hasn't it? When you think about it, he's gone in there, met with the club, ironed out the contract, stated kind of what he wanted, put together a transfer budget, put together his transfer targets, and now news is coming out from the club to say that at the meeting it was yeah, but when the paper arrived it was no. And last minute he's pulled out, and this is on the back of an Italian sporting director going in there as well, wasn't it? There's a contract signed for that as well. It's going in. I think it was it the lad off Juventus?
Yeah,
the lad off Juventus that's going in there. And you're looking at that situation and you're thinking, you know, if they were to get Conte in there and they had that sporting director in there and they make a few signings, you could see Spurs with a big chance this season of potentially getting some silverware under Conte, because everywhere he's gone, he's brought success.
Went into Chelsea and won the league in his first season. He went to Italy and like really made a statement, winning the Serie A and breaking the stronghold of Juventus. There's something for me. Daniel Levy has to step away from Spurs. The owners aren't going to be happy. Fans are going to be very, very angry. I presume they are if they're listening. You're seeing expressions. He's certainly not happy. When the managers, especially as Man United too, but we're nowhere solely talking about sports here. With the player or the managers that are free to talk now, you know, you have Zidane, probably going to go to PSG, Conte, Pochettino, Allegri, Ralph Ragnick or whatever, I can't pronounce his name. The managers that are available, where Man United kind of just need someone to come in with the nous, tactical awareness, who can make the decisions that are needed to get a good team to the next level. And Spurs who are just on a massive decline. I talked about this with Graham a few weeks ago. We were talking about, and was saying that Spurs can't go anywhere until they get a manager, and the longer they leave this, the more it is likely that Harry Kane is going to leave. Gareth Bale, there's talk of him retiring now. If Spurs don't get the man that's needed to come in there and turn everything around there, and Kane goes, Bale retires, and he goes, it's like he'll go anyway, even if he doesn't retire. Son could leave. See Spurs just really, really falling away from the top 10 in the league, and that's not being far-fetched. If they don't get this summer right, they're going to go downhill rapidly.
Well, they've been backed into a corner, really, haven't they? Because they've really only got a week to get this sorted, because the Euros start next week. And once the Euros start, then everything is up in the air and turmoil starts and all that, and no one's really signing at it. So I think they've really got a week to get this sorted. And I think, as embarrassing as it might look, I could see a situation where they roll back and give Conte what he wants. I don't see any other option for them.
I was just going to say that. I was like, if I am Spurs, you have to go in and give Conte exactly what he wants. It's Conte or Poch, okay? Poch comes in because of the whole love affair maybe shouldn't have been sacked. If Poch comes in, he might be able to get Kane to stay for one more year. I know Kane is 29, or I think he's 29, is he?
28, 29, yeah.
28, 29. If Poch comes in, he could get him to stay for one more year. If Conte comes in, the manager of that caliber sits down with the club captain, tells him what he wants, tells him the project that's going to be in place. He's not a bullshit, Conte. He'll come in and he's set in his ways. You know what I mean? If there's some money available there, and he can add to what's there already, get a settled back line, you know, replace one or two in the middle. He's very, very capable of doing that. Yeah, I literally was just going to say that when you said it. They have to go out before the Euros now and get him in and have a chat with the players via Zoom meeting or whatever. They need to get they just whatever he wants, just give it to him, because he's an exciting manager. You know, he's won trophies wherever he's gone. He's gonna come in there. Players get excited playing for managers of that kind of caliber. You know, if they don't get Pochettino or they don't get Conte, I'm going to use Celtic as the example. My uncle's a season ticket holder. All Celtic fans were happy for Eddie Howe to come in. You know, young manager. Look what he did with Bournemouth with not much of a budget. And now they're going for a guy who's playing in the tour, I think the Greece tour division or something. He's managed in the last 25 years and he's won nothing of note. And they're talking about he's an up and coming manager. You know, things can go really, really wrong. If the wrong man comes in at Spurs have a bad start to the season after losing Harry Kane and Bale is gone. You can just see absolute, especially with building a new stadium. You know, like one of the best stadiums in football at the moment. You know, when it's packed out, it's a great place to be. They just need that right decision to make things turn in the right direction again. And my fear, and I'm sure Graham feels the exact same way. If this isn't sorted soon, there's a really, really dark time on the horizon for them.
Yeah, it's kind of like I nearly describe it as a top four project with a bottom four approach. And it's just, it is really worrying for Spurs at the moment. I mean, look, and the thing about it is, I know all the focus is on Kane at the moment and on the manager, but there's a lot of other really good players there as well who might start getting their heads turned as well, who are involved in the Euros or whatever it is. You know what I mean? And I think for Spurs, you know, they've been dragging their heels on this. You know, the Ryan Mason thing was very, very strange, and even his approach was very, very strange when Ledley King was there. And I just think, I don't know, it's constantly the wrong message. I think being linked with Pochettino coming back as well, I think that would be a real bad move, because I know there's a bit of a romance there and stuff like that, but he had a real bad falling out with Levy, and that doesn't get forgotten about. And I don't know whether they would give Pochettino what they agreed to give him to get him in. Whereas I think with Conte, they'd be more inclined to deliver on what they promised to him, because they know he's a hothead and a lunatic, and they know he'll just walk out the door in a moment's notice, doesn't give a damn. So I don't know, with Spurs, it's one of those ones where, you know, they just have to get this Conte thing sorted out, don't they? They can't let it slide, because they can't begin with a week to go to the Euros and you're trying to sort out your transfer plans and whatever's happening with Kane and whatever's happening with incomings and outgoings. You can't be doing that without a manager who has a plan and a vision for what he wants to do. And like, as you said, an unbelievable stadium, a stadium that warrants top four every year, in fairness, and Champions League football. The fact that that stadium next year is going to be featured in the Europa Conference League is absolutely a disgrace. You know what I mean?
Not many fans are going to turn up for those games. They may as well do a Real Madrid play in their training ground, because let's be real, this whole new tournament and all, it's just more money for your UEFA. That is all this is more money to be generated for your UEFA. Sports fans aren't going to want to go. You have the loyal fans who want to go every game, but they're not going to sell out for those games. Plus, as well, you talk about the money that they're making from the NFL from hosting them games as well. Like, you just have to give Conte. It's not like he's an unknown manager and he's coming in with all these demands. The man oozes respect. You know what I mean? He demands respect, and he deserves respect for what he's done in the game. If Levy's sitting there haggling with this guy and telling him, like, you know, you can't have this, you can't do that, kill those two, Conte, for saying, I'm out.
Yeah.
But the only way down, from this is down, because look, if he comes in and he's not doing a good job, as you said, Conte is the type of man, if he comes in, he's not doing a good job, he'll be the force to walk.
Yeah.
But if he comes in with all these demands and he takes Spurs in, we're not expecting Spurs to get Conte in and win the league next season. They just want to see not a gradual like incline in performances and stuff like that, stuff like that. He's going to come in and steady the ship. He's going to come in and make things better. He's going to come in with that style of play that won him a league at Chelsea, that won him a league at Italy, or with Inter Milan. And there's one or two exciting players at Inter Milan who love working with him. And who's to say that him coming in there, he doesn't bring someone like Barella or the Bastoni? I know it seems far-fetched, but these are the types of names that you're thinking will go to play for a manager like Conte.
Yeah, well, it's not unfair to touch on those things either when you look at the financial situation at Inter Milan, where players have been waiting 2 and 3 months to get paid and stuff like that. They may be looking for an option, and that option very well could be Conte at Spurs. But I think that's where the falling out was. It wasn't necessarily about his package. It was about the package that was presented in terms of players in and players out and whatever the transfer budget would be. And I think that's kind of where Spurs, I think, either rolled back a little bit on it. Basically on what was spoken about, didn't end up on the piece of paper, I think. And that's where he turned around and he goes, if this is how we're going to start, then we ain't going to start.
They're in a very precarious position, because if they don't have much money to add to what's there, and it's a case of they have to sell Harry Kane to buy, it's not looking good for them at all. It's not looking. If they sell Harry Kane and make the wrong transfer, come here, every transfer is a risk nowadays, unless you're going out and you're buying a Kylian Mbappe or an Erling Haaland, where you kind of know that you're going to get what you paid for out of them. That's the dangerous thing with Spurs. If they sell Harry Kane, because that's the only option they have to make like viable funds available to bring in better players. Yeah, it's just.
Well, see, it'll cause a ripple effect, because what happens is if you don't have a manager in place, you can't present a plan really that's a real meaningful plan. So then you have Harry Kane goes out the door. Does Son suddenly rock up to the door and say, I want out of here as well? We're hearing that Harry Winks this week had been linked with Man United. Now, whether it happens or not, I don't know, but he's been linked with it. This is Harry Winks rocking up thinking.
Harry, who is he better than in the United team? He's not better than Fred. He's not better than Scott McTominay. I don't give a shit. I just don't think he's better than any. If Harry Winks,
in fairness, he's better than Fred. He's not better than McTominay, but he is better than Fred.
All right. Maybe Fred. But if this is the players that Man United are linked with, Kieran Trippier to come in from Atletico Madrid and Harry Winks off Spurs, Ole at the wheel, baby. I'm all for it.
Well, Trippier, I think, would be a good addition in terms of there, because they don't really have cover for Wan-Bissaka. And I think between the two of those, when you think of the season Trippier had at Atletico, was outstanding. And certainly he would be challenging Wan-Bissaka. Certainly at a bigger level than I would think Telles and Shaw, if you like, in terms of competition.
The thing with Trippier, Niall, sorry. For me, you're not buying Trippier unless he's taken over that right back position, because Trippier is too good a player to come in and sit on a bench, as is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. So that day is not going to happen. I do not see that happening whatsoever. Trippier is only going somewhere where he's guaranteed he's starting at right back. And I'd like to hear Mark and Darren's thoughts on that. Yeah, great name to sign. You know, he's gone to the Euros with England. He's just won La Liga with Atletico Madrid. Very, very good player. Still only youngish. And Wan-Bissaka is Wan-Bissaka. He's an absolutely outstanding right back. As much as we hate you, I always give credit where it's due. He's an outstanding right back. Just don't see why bring in someone that good to sit on a bench, and vice versa. If he was to come in, would Wan-Bissaka be happy to sit on the bench? I don't think so.
Well, I suppose the argument there is, if you want to bridge that gap with City and you want to be competitive in the Champions League, you nearly have to have 2 11s. And the thing about it is, someone has to sit on the bench, but you have to have a similar quality. And I think that's where City at times are so successful, and Chelsea to an extent as well. They have like for like changes on their bench, and I think that's where we kind of fall down Liverpool. And it's definitely where United fall down. When you look to the bench, the options on the bench are not really there. And I think in order to be competitive, that's where you need to be. It's actually the strength of your bench that generates the performance levels in the starting 11 that drive them to a higher level or potentially give you the option to change it out. So I don't know whether, I suppose it is a conundrum with Atletico winning La Liga. Like the conundrum is, do you stay at Atletico, the Spanish champions? But in reality, are Atletico going to retain La Liga this year? I would doubt it.
No, not with the talk of Saul Niguez going. Like, he's the spine of that team. You think if he goes, there's a domino effect then. Trippier might be looking at, look, I've had me couple of years in Spain. I've won La Liga. It's time to go back home. Yeah, I don't know. He could have the mentality of Lukaku and say, no, I want to stay here. There's an exciting prospect. It must be absolutely unbelievable to play for Diego Simeone. He's absolutely idolised over there. The players absolutely adore him. Will he really want to lose Trippier? I don't think so. And he's like Klopp. He's the type of man who'll go to and he'll paint a picture, and you'll find it very, very hard to turn him down. Then you have
I
when
find
Brandon
with him though, he doesn't seem to be too bothered really about losing players. I mean, when he loses players, he's kind of one of those managers that kind of gets on with it, doesn't he?
he's like Klopp. You know what I mean? I imagine he's pretty anxious if, like, say one of his, he's not going to be happy if Saul Niguez leaves, but he's not going to come out and fucking lambast him on in media on media duties, or he's not going to come out and be tweeting, or he's not going to come out and say, he's not going to be happy losing his best midfielder, but he's also not going to come out and make a big fuss about it. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's going to bring in someone adequate enough. Just who's to say Gini Wijnaldum doesn't go to Atletico Madrid?
That's what I was just thinking. You're going to get 68 million for Saul Niguez, and you're going to bring in Gini Wijnaldum on a free.
For free.
And I'm thinking that would be great business for Atletico Madrid. Absolutely outstanding business.
Just on the Trippier thing as well, like when Brandon Williams came through at Man United as well, there was talk of him being the next Gary Neville as well. You know, Ole obviously doesn't trust him. He's a bit of a lunatic as well, isn't he? He jumps in. He's like Liu Kang out of fucking Mortal Kombat when he's jumping in for tackles as well. Yeah. You can just see it in him. He's that Man United till I die. He just wants to upend people and take their salt. But imagine he'll move on then, possibly. I don't see Trippier going to Man United, but if he did, it's a domino effect. And probably see Brandon Williams going to probably one of the teams that's coming up on loan or something like that, or say a Southampton, because there's talk of Ryan Bertrand going to Leicester as well now, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's definitely interesting times in both the player and the manager transfer window, providing us with great entertainment every
We're going to have to do a managers only show soon.
Yeah, we're not that far off it anyway. One or two more now, we'd have a complete show. But listen, as always, a pleasure on these Sunday morning sit-ins doing our upper transfer show. Dynamo Podcast Network on YouTube for all the upper tier shows. Obviously, loads of fantastic content over there from pro wrestling, metal music, retrotainment. All the different shows are over there at this stage.
Shankly Sessions, baby.
Shankly Sessions, the Liverpool podcast, is part of the upper tier. We're also going to be bringing you a new show starting on Monday with a quick review looking back at Serie A this season. And Craig is going to be taking on that show going into the new season with a weekly look back at the Italian League. So from myself and from Dean, anchor for audio versions of the show, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, hit us up. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. As always, like, share, and subscribe and support the podcast. And we will see you again next week for more transfer news, which will be even more interesting with the kickoff in the Euros. Till next time, buddy.
See you soon, Niall.